What's going on, everybody? C4 here, and today we need to start talking about Madden 18 a little bit more. I know for those of us in the connected franchise mode community, it seems like we've got shafted on this year's game. Everything has gone once again towards Madden Ultimate Team, and where usually we get a little bit towards connected franchise mode, looks like Longshot has kind of butted in front of us and has got all of the attention. But here's something I really want to see happen. I want to see some new relocation cities. I think what we have now is pretty, it's a decent selection. But to keep the game fresh, at the very least, I think you should add at least 5 cities. So what we're going to be doing today is discussing the top 10 Madden 18 relocation cities that have to be in the game. Looking at my list right now, 4 of them are already cities that you can find here in this year's game. Let's look at the cities. Obviously, you have London. I think London makes sense to have in the game because of the international games in London. In terms of realistic chances of it ever happening, it makes no sense to have it in here. But once again, I should say, if they decide to keep all these teams, don't be lazy. And I would say at the least, keep maybe 2 of the already predetermined jerseys and refresh one of them. So a lot of these jerseys aren't that good. I think that's one of the bigger criticisms with all the relocation teams, is that most of the jerseys are kind of shit and look real corny. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe they want to discourage people from relocating teams. I don't know if that's the case. But yeah, London probably will be back, but it's not a team or city that I really think is overly important to me. But I know there's a lot of people that are getting into the Madden series across the pond in the United Kingdom, and London makes sense. LA does not make sense. They probably, for some reason, still will have an LA thing, but now with, obviously, the Raiders moving, maybe they'll leave them there, so one more team in California. But you have the Chargers in LA, the Rams in LA. It doesn't make sense to have them there anymore. Mexico City, that makes sense. We'll talk about them at a later point. Very similar to London. However, I think Mexico City, if you're going to an international place, is the second most likely international place, more so than London. I don't think London will ever happen. Toronto, another one. Obviously, as a Canadian, I'm very glad they still have at least one Canadian city as an available option, and I definitely want to see this return. I think Toronto is, in my opinion, the most likely city to ever get a international franchise, I guess. Is that what you call it, or for the NFL to expand internationally? I think Toronto has the number 1 shot, Mexico City number 2, and then London is a far and distant number 3. San Antonio makes sense, I guess. To have, even just for Pam Crow, so you can do Dreadnoughts next year. But San Antonio is not a bad call. Orlando, I don't think Orlando's much of it. There's too many teams in Florida. Salt Lake City, not terrible. There's no team in Utah, so it makes sense. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it makes sense. Brooklyn, I like the jerseys in this year. Another team in they make it decent because, let's be honest, the Jets, the Giants are in New Jersey. They're not even in New York. So from that standpoint, sure, keep Brooklyn. Memphis, not bad. I think Memphis is all right. They haven't had a team since I'm pretty sure the CFL team was the last one they had. Memphis is not bad. Chicago, no. That makes no sense whatsoever to have Chicago, to be honest with you. Sacramento, still kind of in that California range. I think the California teams are set. They shouldn't be anymore, but I can't say I hate it. Columbus, Ohio makes sense. Maybe get another team to compete with the Browns so that they don't suck. So not a great one, not a bad one. Certainly should return. Portland is definitely a big one that I like because obviously Oregon is a emerging city with the success of the Oregon Ducks. A lot of people have said, when I talked and ranted and raved about the Charger move to LA, that Oregon's too nitpicky, too niche of a market for a football team, but I still like the option to have it here. I like anytime they give you a state that does not have a team. That's always, my preferred because it's something different. Austin, Texas, nope. Would not want Austin back. Why? Why give us multiple options within Texas? Dublin, Ireland is the stupidest team I've ever seen. Why? No. It makes 0 sense to have it in Dublin, Ireland. Houston, the Oilers is cool, being able to have the Oilers. I'm not a huge fan of the Houston pick, to be honest with you, but they probably will return. Oklahoma City, I do like that one. Very similar to Portland. Doesn't have a team. Big fan base. We'll talk about them in a later spot. That's a good place. St. Louis, I like that. I definitely bring a team back to St. Louis. So yeah, those are the teams there. There's cities that have potential to get teams. So I'm going to break into my list and kind of just talk about each one of them and ones I want to see. So what we have here at number 10, This, like I said, we're gonna play some gameplay for the ones that aren't in the game. Some returning ones that I think absolutely need to return. At number 10, we're going Mexico City, just because of the international games, and it is an easier location than London, as I was kind of talking about. It seems like the Raiders are kind of the adopted team there, even though they are moving to Las Vegas. Mexico City is definitely, like I said, they always have a huge market. They have personalities, hardcore fans, so it always makes sense. They've been a team that's been a staple of relocation for quite some time in Madden to have Mexico City. And even though it is pretty unrealistic, I think it certainly should return. Going to number 9, it's going to, my favorite one, the Huskies, Toronto. Toronto definitely needs to come back as my number 9. Long time they've been rumored to be the relocation if the Buffalo Bills were to move. Doesn't look like they are anymore. Looks like that dream has been shot down. Plus, the success of the Canada International games really dwindled. But I kind of put that on the NFL where, credit where credit's due for the London fans. You guys can sit through all the shitty Jags games, but here in Canada, we at least kind of know what's going on, and we got shafted. The Bills game, we're always getting like the worst Bills games on the schedule, so that's why. You put shitty teams, no one's going to watch it, because, a lot of people in Canada watch the NFL, and we know who it is. Versus England, they're just happy to get anything. But definitely Toronto needs to bring back, and again, kind of like Mexico City, certainly more easier and a little bit more realistic than London for your 2 international teams. Number 8, I'm going with, kind of surprising for me, I didn't even think when I was looking at it, but it made sense. I'm going with San Antonio, just because Texas is so massive. It probably could handle another team. Absolute gigantic market, and you have the instant rivalries with Dallas and the Houston Texans going to San Antonio. Maybe we can get some better jerseys, not shooting fire at anyone that may do a Dreadnought series. I don't like the jerseys. I think the jerseys suck. Maybe we can get a revamp of the designs for the Dreadnoughts, Marshalls, and Express, or maybe add another team. Maybe rejuvenate it. Maybe get some team that actually sounds decent with San Antonio. Dreadnoughts does not sound like it goes to San Antonio. Marshalls, Express, no, that sounds stupid. So, San Antonio, the Spurs have always dominated that market. I certainly think they could expand to a football team. That's why they're coming in at number 8. At number 7, we're going with the Chip Kelly rebuild favorite, Portland location. Like I said, at Oregon, the Ducks are popular. It's key for this to return for my Chip Kelly rebuilds if I ever want to do those. When I'm drinking the beers and we're doing the live streams, plus the lack of pro teams here in Portland makes it an attractive option. Like I said, I know different strokes for different folks when you're trying to determine what is really what you want to get out of a relocation city. And for me, the biggest thing, first and foremost, is does the team have a pro sports franchise? Because it's just, for me, from an outsider standpoint, I know realistically and logistically, it comes down to the city has to have money and all that stuff. That's why some of these cities don't work. But for me, in the realm of Madden, if they don't have a team, the reception is going to be incredibly high because it's something to do. I come from a city in Canada. We have no professional sports teams. It is terrible. I will take anything. I hate hockey. I'd watch hockey if we had a pro sports team. So maybe that's why it hits so close to home. But I definitely want to see Portland return. And they're my number 7 team. Go to number 6. It's the last team city that's actually in the game. And it's Oklahoma City, pretty much for the exact same reason as Portland. Thus, the fact that it actually is a proven football state. It has a huge market, big support. They absolutely go ham, buck wild for the Thunder. I certainly think Oklahoma City, even with Oklahoma State and the Sooners, they could handle a pro sports team. And I think personally, I don't know why there's zero. Why is it a small market? Doesn't Oklahoma? I don't know. Maybe I just don't understand. The state of Oklahoma, big football market. Maybe Oklahoma City's not that big, and I'm not. Like I said, I'm Canadian. I'm not fully informed about the size of the markets. I would figure Oklahoma City is definitely big enough to holster a pro football team, and I would definitely want to see them return. So that is going to be it for this. I'm going to start just showing some beautiful pictures from the PR pages of the upcoming cities that I want to see new and added behind some gameplay. So let's finish this stuff out here. Alright, so rounding out the top 5 cities I want to see in Madden 18 for relocation. And this, remember, this is what I want to see. So at number 5, I'm putting Montreal. They have shown love to Montreal in years past. I can't remember what game it was, but I'm 90% sure Montreal at one point during the Madden franchise has been an option to relocate to. And as a Canadian that's not the biggest fan of the city of Toronto, anytime I visit Toronto, I haven't been a big fan of it. Montreal is the best city in Canada, and they could certainly, best way to describe it is people from Toronto are kind of the fair weather fan type. You know, like some of the worries when teams are moving to LA, where it's like the teams suck, no one's going to go watch it. That's very much the case in Toronto. But Montreal, on the other hand, has very, very diehard fans. And, you know, all the Montreal sport teams, if they're good, they're bad, the fans come out in droves. They've had, you know, their baseball team taken away from them. It's been bitter since then. They only really have a pro hockey team there. And obviously they have an MLS soccer team, which is, you know, not really that big. It's a small blip on the radar. So I would certainly love to see Montreal, 2 Canadian teams. I know it's fairly unlikely that I would get that. But, I mean, come on. Montreal, come on. You know, come on. Fermez les bouches, it's French. It's exotic. Come on. All right, going to number 4, I'm going to be putting Louisville. I think Louisville, having a team there down in Kentucky, they have no real major sports team. It's a great college sport town. They support their basketball team. They support their football team now with the lifeblood that they have from Lamar Jackson. I think it's just like I said, big key for me when we're talking about relocation cities. More so, obviously, when talking about San Antonio, in particular, you know, places that already have, cities that already have pro sports teams. I don't like that. States that already have pro sports teams, I don't like that. Like Chicago, what the fuck was Chicago doing on options there? See, a team like at least Louisville, it's a brand new market. However unrealistic it is for that team to financially afford it, I mean, it's not too crazy to think that Louisville couldn't afford a pro sports team. So why not be the first franchise to settle in there? Get that feeling that the Las Vegas hockey team had for about 2 months before the Raiders decided that they were going to move there. So Louisville is my number 4 option. These guys, these aren't really ranked in terms of, like, you know, how badly I want them in. They're just, you know, it's just a list. So moving on to number 3, we're going with Birmingham, Alabama. Again, kind of like Oklahoma, very surprised that they don't have a pro sports team, at least in the football realm, because it's such a huge football state. Alabama is, you know, they should look at the Crimson Tide. And sure, there's going to be plenty of people that say the Crimson Tide are enough. We don't need a pro sports team. Well, at least give us the option. Let's see how that would play out. I think Alabama, the support would be there. It's a big enough, like, they would definitely sell out all the games if they had it. Because, you know, I mean, you don't run the same goddamn day college football. The game's on Saturday. We don't play on Saturday unless it's Christmas. So you're going to be fine to get a double Dutch. You know, even 3, because obviously high school football is going to be massive in Alabama. So you get high school on Friday, college on Saturday, and the Birmingham Bats, or something stupid like that, on a Sunday night. I guess I probably should have thrown out just some terrible team names. So we have the Birmingham Bats, it could be the Montreal Maniacs, and the Louisville Lumberjacks. There are my 3 horrific names. And we're going down to now number 2. I have it as Las Vegas. I think it's almost a certainty that Las Vegas is going to be included here so that people can manually take over the Raiders and just move them there sooner than later. I don't know if maybe they'd make that automatic. I don't know if Madden would be that in-depth in connected franchise mode that after 2 or 3 years or however long it's going to be, it would automatically make the Raiders move to Vegas. Like when you actually pick your Raiders franchise mode, the relocation process has already started. You answer, you know, weekly questions and stuff like that. But Las Vegas, I can almost guarantee is going to be there. Like I said, with the Raiders moving, they're a desperate market. It's a huge territory, untapped potential. Ticks my box of not having a professional sports team because I guess you can't really count that hockey team yet. Vegas, almost certain, will be in the game. And at number 1, I like Honolulu. I have always, for some god-awful reason, as a Canadian, thought that, you know, in NCAA games, I always like being Hawaii. I always want to pick and do a franchise with Hawaii, not only because it has the beautiful weather, but because, like, it's just the advantage that you get in home games. You know, the time difference, the huge flight layover, like, just fucking, I don't know my demographic, but, like, a team from Cali have to play in Hawaii. They're going to be deadbeat ass. So that means when you play them, you know, you have that advantage. It's always going to be a tough environment to go. We know they can handle football games because of the Pro Bowl that's been there for, you know, even though they kind of moved away as of late. Pro Bowl's been there forever. And I always just like the exotic location. Never had a sports team. It's a part of America. So you get the kind of feel of an international, like Mexico City, Toronto, because it is Hawaii. It's kind of an untapped market for a lot of the mainstream. And it'll be a perfect goddamn place. Plus, there's the realism that football's actually worked there. Unlike Mexico City, London, Toronto, where you just have the international games and to some extent the CFL. Honolulu, Hawaii, they have the, what are they called? The Rainbow Warriors. One of the terrible names I've ever seen in sports. But why not make that? The Hawaii, Honolulu, I don't know a team name here. Come out to my Honolulu Hitman. No, that sounds stupid. The Honolulu friggin' Coconut Crushers. Is that racist? I don't exactly know. But they are my number 1 team. I want to see in Madden 18 for a relocation city. Honorable mentions, I have St. Louis, just for, you know, kind of pity them and give them their team back. Memphis, once again, they were a team that wasn't Madden 17, so there's no reason why they wouldn't be included. Didn't necessarily hate that because the Oilers were there, but still, yeah. And Little Rock, Arkansas, kind of, you know, another team down south, big football state in terms of college, and don't have a team. So Little Rock, probably a big enough city that they may be able to get a pro football franchise. So more of those cities, the better. But there you go, guys. That is my list. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. As always, if this is your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. And until next time, it's C4. Say peace out.